And we are live.
Okay, thank you, LTV. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the June 16th, 2020 Town of East Hampton Zoning Board of Appeals meeting. We have a full plate this evening. This is our first experience doing public hearings virtually. And LTV's worked very hard on this, and we appreciate their efforts, and hopefully things will go smoothly. I will note for anyone listening, if you are going to be calling in, or whenever you can, if you can mute your device when you're not speaking, and also if you can turn off any TVs or radios or anything that you might have in case you have LTV on in the background or something like that, it will help with the audio. Thank you. Okay, we'll get going now. We are going to have, I'll let you all know, we are going to have, I believe it's 3 public hearings, correct, this evening?
Correct, Chair.
Yeah, thank you. And we have some other business as well to take care of. Okay, so our first public hearing this evening, the applicant is 60 Gansett Lane, LLC, and the lot size and location is 60 Gansett Lane in Amagansett, tax map number 300-172-7-38. And the description is to allow a 792 square foot swimming pool patio to remain within rear yard lot line setbacks. The relief sought here is one variance of 9.8 feet as required from section 255-11-10 dimensional setbacks to allow a swimming pool patio to remain 10.2 feet from the eastern rear yard lot line where a 20 feet is required, and any other relief necessary. And zoning district here is a B residence zone, and the flood district is X flood zone, and the secret class is type 2. And LTV, do I have my volume fine? Is that all okay? LTV?
Yes, you sound great right now. And I just want to let you know we have one person, one caller that's on the line already, and they're waiting. Thank you. Okay,
great. Thank you. Okay, so we'll start off. Council, do we have proper affidavit of service and posting for 60 Gansett Lane?
Yes, we received that notice or affidavit saying that notice was sent by certified mail on the 3rd day of June, and that the property was posted on the 3rd day of June. So the posting, the affidavit seems to be in order.
Okay, thank you, Council. Okay, this is in my Amagansett district, so I will do a field report. Michael, if you wouldn't mind driving that. Okay, thank you, board members. You recall we addressed this property back last November 2019. It was an appeal, a building inspector appeal. Back then it got dark a lot earlier, but nonetheless I got over there, and so these I'm going to show pictures from back then and from this morning. This you see here, the pool is covered up in November. This is from the house looking east. To the backyard, the pool in the foreground, the pool patio, the subject patio, and the trellis in the pool house are there. And you see the landscaping behind that, where there's also a stockade fence. Next, Michael, please. Again, this is a shot kind of looking south. We'll call it south end east. Again, you see the covered pool. You can even see there a little bit of the gravel that you'll get a better picture of. The applicant put some gravel between some of the pool patio and the coping stones of the pool, and that's what you're seeing kind of to the right of the columns that support the trellis. Next, please. This is from that area looking back to the house towards Gansett Lane, would be behind the house. This is the rear of the house right here. Next, Michael. This is the other view looking north and east, pretty much the same thing. Again, you can see a little bit of that gravel there. And you see the landscaping pretty much on all sides. It's well landscaped. Another shot just looking back at the house. Again, you can see the northern, we'll call that the northern. It's also well landscaped, the property line. Next, Michael, please. This is this morning. This is looking from the street, and it was well posted on that tree. Not sure if we're supposed to be nailing on trees, but anyway. It did not come off. And that's the driveway, obviously, in the front of the house. Next, please. This, I just turned to the right, looking south down Gansett Lane. Give you a feel of the neighborhood. Beautiful day. It was today. It still is. Next, please. Again, here now you see the pool is uncovered, and we're looking back as I come through the pool gate, back at the pool house and all. And you see the landscaping. There you get a better shot. You see there's a little bit of gravel, slot of gravel between the pool coping and the pool, the subject patio. Next, please. I kind of stepped onto there and looking back towards the house over the pool. Next, please. You can see that's another angle looking south and a little bit west. I think that may be it. Oh, there's one more. And I think that may be it. Is that correct, Michael? Any more? I think that's it. Okay, thanks, Michael. Any questions, board members, on the field report? No?
Did you bring your bathing suit?
No, I did not. Okay. Let's see. We have the applicant. Michael is here to speak. Michael, are you on? Michael?
Yes, I'm on. Yeah.
Okay, this is your time to speak, Michael. Good evening.
Hi, good evening. Thanks very much for having me. Thanks for setting up the Zoom meeting. Yeah, we had originally brought this to, I guess, the
Chair, before we begin.
Oh, yeah, I didn't swear him in. Yeah, thanks, Nancy Lynn. You're probably going to have to keep reminding me. I appreciate that.
No
Michael,
problem.
I'm going to have to swear you in, okay? If you could raise your right hand. And do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Okay, continue, please, Michael.
Yeah, so we originally had brought this to the appeals board, I think, in November of last year. At that meeting, I guess with some of you actually were there, the recommendation was that I should withdraw and rather bring it under this forum. As a very uncomplicated brief history, we applied for the building permit, the initial one, in October 2016. The pool house was in a different position. Then in November of 2017, we put in an amendment which moved the pool house. We had a discussion about the distance required between the pool itself and the patio, which we had thought through discussion with the department was 12 inches. So we specifically put that in, showing a stone pebble soft scape between the two spaces. We then got approvals for that from the Department of Buildings, and we proceeded to build the pool on that basis. And then when it came to the final COO, this issue popped up. Unfortunately, if we had known, we would have moved the pool a little bit further inwards. But unfortunately, I guess it was a misunderstanding when the permits were approved back in November 2017. The spacing in between the pool and the patio was very clearly indicated on the drawings in several places. And so at this point, we're respectfully requesting a little leeway with this. I think it was a genuine misunderstanding or mistake that was made across the board. We have put in substantial softscaping and trees on the east side, and in fact all around the property, but in particular on the east side, where this potentially would be most affected. We have over 10 feet of layers of trees, so it's a very substantially protected zone. And on all other sides of the property as well, we have a series of double, triple layer of trees. So there's a lot of sound insulation on the property itself. I think that's...
So, Michael, I have a question. I don't recall, and we can ask Michael Delali, or the planner, after you speak, but I don't believe there's anything in the property history card of you going back and getting, well, for one thing, a building permit for the new location, I have a few questions, and you can answer them all at once. That's one question. I don't believe I do not see that, and I don't believe we've received any paperwork on that. And as well, the original permit, I believe, as you know, did not have any plumbing, and therefore, and then a sanitary system was put in. And I don't know if there was ever a building permit for that. I imagine you received Suffolk County Department of Health. You can answer what approvals you received, but so that's two things. We don't know anything about these permits. And as well, I can't imagine, it's been 5 feet separation for years, and I can't imagine them telling you 1 foot. I mean, if you had paperwork and a permit that showed that it was very clear that you had proposed 12 inches and everyone said that's great, and they give you a building permit, and then you built it, well, that's a different story. You know, that kind of changes the story. But so if you could address all of those issues, and if you did speak, who did you speak with when you had that 12-inch conversation with the building department? And no, I'll let you answer. Thank you.
Sure. So just going one by one on those. Yep. So we submitted revised drawings in November of 2017. After the last hearing, which we withdrew from, we actually went down to the building department and spoke with Anne there, and she actually pulled the drawings that were on file for the project that were submitted, and they were indeed the November 2017 drawings, which do show the change in location of the pool house as well as the 12-inch separation. Those also included Department of Health. We applied and got approved for the small septic by the pool house, which was part of the application. So that's also in the drawings. And as I say, we did visit the Department of Buildings to check that, and those drawings were actually pulled from the drawing file.
And who was thank you, that's interesting. I think we're going to want to ask the planners to retrieve those. Can you answer me, who did you speak with when you first went in there and submitted those drawings about the 12-inch separation? Was that Ann Glennon as well?
I remember you asked me this question in November, and honestly, back in 2017, I do not remember who it was that we spoke with. I was there with my attorney at the time, but neither of us recall who it was exactly that we spoke to. But when you look at the
who's the attorney? Sorry, Michael, go ahead.
Sorry, when you pull the drawings that are in the Department of Buildings now, I think you'll even see some pencil marks around this particular question.
And who's your attorney, if you don't mind? Who was there?
It was Mark. Sorry. Boy, I'm going blank now. Give me a second. Let me just.
So while you look for that, I think I would like to hold the written. I'll say right now, just so board members can consider this. I would like to leave the written record open and give you a chance to submit copies of those drawings into the file. And you're saying you all as well, you got an amended building permit?
Well, this is where this is unfortunately, if I had that, I think this would be a little easier. But when we went in to submit the change in November 2017, we had the roll of drawings. We went through the roll of drawings on the table. Those were submitted. We requested some sort of receipt or update in terms of the permit, which we did not receive. And I believe that my attorney actually sent an email requesting something along those lines, but we were told we could just move ahead with the work. So
okay, so I'm going to recommend, I'm going to keep the written record open. I'm going to recommend that you get copies of the email, you get us copies from the building department, and you talk to your attorney. It's always good to know with whom you spoke.
Yeah.
And you should always know that anyway, but anyway, maybe that's in your notes or someone's notes.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But nonetheless.
I wish I could remember that from 2017.
But more importantly is Did you file an amendment? I mean, you're an architect, you know about, did you file for, you don't just ask them for, you have to file for an amendment, you know that. Did you file for an amended building permit?
I mean, again, we took the drawings in to amend the building permit, and that's, you know, unfortunately for me, I don't generally work in East Hampton, so I was perhaps not, you know, completely up to speed on the protocols, but the drawing set was taken by myself, and Mark Catalano is the name of the attorney. And then we spent some time there. We spoke with the individual that helped us, and then those drawings were accepted. There were some notes made on the drawings, and they were taken into the department. And
then I won't belabor this, but then when you went back with the appeal, after the appeal, we denied your appeal, you went back and spoke with Ann Glennon, you said?
Yes.
And she pulled out the drawings and in fact agreed that it was shown as 12 inches with, and they
Correct.
told you, someone had told you to go ahead.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Board members, any questions for the applicant?
I have a question, Mr. Chairman. My question is in this type of situation, I'm not sure if the code allows, but we seem to be trying to mitigate this issue by landscaping, and I'm not sure if that's adequate when we have double pool setbacks. So maybe you can address that.
That's a question for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, I think that you know, the level of planting that we put back there is substantial. I mean, it's a triple row of trees in some respects. I mean, again, you know, I think just hand on heart, this was an honest mistake, and you know, we're looking hopefully for some understanding on this, because for us to demo this out, and it's going to be a, you know, substantial waste of material, and
Right, I understand that, but it's the precedent that I'm worried about. So in other words, if you were to build a house by mistake higher, is landscaping intended to be the mitigation for that mistake? And that's my question. It's not just this situation, it's a precedent that's going to be set.
right.
I also wonder if you have a cost associated with what it would cost to remedy the situation.
Yeah, we took a look at that. It would probably be around $11,000 or $12,000 to change this. There's a substantial amount of work, obviously, with the concrete slab, the new footings that would have to go in once that was demoed. I mean, unfortunately there's a substantial amount of work that would need to be done in order to change it.
Now, why would you need new footings? I'm sure your posts are on footings already.
They are, but I think the posts, where the line would be pushed back would be beyond the posts. So I think the posts are cast into the slab. So if the slab is demoed from underneath, you would have to basically take the posts out and then put new footings in, because I'd effectively be freestanding in a piece of grass.
Well, maybe if you have a detail, since you're getting us drawings and you're an architect, maybe you can show us how that was done, so we see what's involved there. You probably have a cross section of some of those things, I imagine.
Yep.
Okay.
Just making a note.
Yeah. So again, for your notes, what I'm going to be looking for is that the drawings from the building department, and
those will be requesting directly from the building department.
Yeah, I would like. Yeah, you can go speak with them and let them know that the chairman requested this, and
yeah,
and they can always email me or whatever. They'll understand. They know you had a hearing this evening, and as well, if you have any emails from your attorney to the building department. LTV, we have a CVATR on the screen. I don't know if you can move that away.
Done.
Okay, thank you. So if you could get any of that information together, Michael.
Sure. Should I send that to Nancy Lynn or?
I think you'd bring that into the planning department. Brittany McVitie would be the one there, and she will distribute that. And if you have any of it, you can also, if we are going to be going virtual, if you, it may be worth taking it to a printer, and maybe what you could possibly scan the information too, and that way it would be able to be emailed, and we could kind of get to it quicker, you know.
And the drawings from the DOB, should I just take photographs of those, do you think? Or
No, I think I'd like to see the real I'd like to see the drawings, and you can leave them with the planners, and we can go in individually, or I'd like to see them physically myself.
Okay. So just so that I know, where would I ask them?
It's right across the hall, literally across the hall from the building inspector.
Okay.
Is the planning department. Okay.
Yeah.
So how much time do you think you need to get that?
Chair, just so you know that we have to keep the record open for any submissions for 2 weeks past the time that we get the transcript of tonight's hearing. So once that's been posted, it's still open for 2 weeks.
Right.
So I don't know what the turnaround time is, the transcripts on these hearings, but then we have an additional 2 weeks. So minimum, you've got 2 weeks open to do that. And Jason, I don't know if you can give us an idea of how long it's been taking to get the transcripts back on the hearings. We lost Jason on that one.
Hi, 1 second. We do have one person on the line. I apologize.
Jason, hang on a second.
Oh.
Jason, I was actually asking a question of how long it's been taking to get the transcripts of the hearings.
Oh, okay. So that has been taking about, I'd say, anywhere between a few days to a week afterwards, depending on how long this session was. I'll give you an example. Village, I get the transcript back from Zoom that day. Work session, that's 4 hours. It sometimes is a few days for me to get that back from them, and then afterwards I forward it along as quickly as I can. I usually forward my stuff along either at the beginning or the end of the week.
Okay. So, Chair, we have about a week to get the transcript posted, and then we have 2 weeks after that. So we have built in 3 weeks before this hearing can close anyway. So I don't know if that's enough time, but just to give you an idea of how long we're going to have to keep it open in any case.
Great. Thanks, Nancy Lynn. I'm sure that's plenty of time, Michael. Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And as soon as we get that back in from you, we can get that back on our next work session and give board members a chance to review that and that sort of thing. Okay.
Okay. Perfect.
And again, if you do want to, then I'll finish here. If you do want to take the drawings from the building department, and Ann could speak with me and bring them to like East Hampton Business Service, you could also have those scanned where they could be emailed out.
Okay.
It might just move your thing along a little quicker so that all the board members could see them virtually. And okay.
Sure.
And again, any emails, whatever information you want to get that helps your case. Go ahead, Nancy Lynn.
Building department may also have them digitally, and you can ask, and they may be able to email those directly.
Great.
I believe that there's a second agent, Mr. Cooper, who's was going to appear on behalf of the applicant as well.
Yes, he's on the line right now.
Are you ready to hear from him, Chair?
Yes.
Okay.
Don't forget, you need to have him identify address.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hello, Mr. Cooper. You are on the line.
Hello.
Hello, you are on the air, please, and the chair will take the board.
Thank you.
Yes, hello, I'm here.
Yeah, good. Good evening, Tom. It's John Whelan. So we have to swear you in, okay? So do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Great. Okay, go ahead, Tom. You can speak. Go ahead, Nancy.
Chair,
I need your address. Yeah.
Full name and address, please.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, your full name and address, please, Tom.
My name is Thomas Cooper, 78 Long Lane, East Hampton, New York.
Thank you. Okay, go ahead, Tom.
I'm just confirming, by the way, I did go in when we had the issue. I talked to Ann, especially after our meeting with the ZBA in November, and I asked her to pull out the drawings, and we did look at them together, and it does show that it was clearly put that we wanted 12 inches, and that paperwork was submitted to her, and she had it all, and she, said that she would not protest or not even, have a problem with us applying for this variance. So I am confirming that Michael is correct on the statements that he made. As I said, I went there personally just to talk to her because I was disturbed by it, because we did try to follow the letter of the law. We did have the separation between the pool and the patio. And I guess the only other thing I'd like to say is that I think the letter of the law is that basically what you're trying to do is create a barrier of sound. You don't want to have these patios so close to the side, side yard or rear side setbacks. So you're trying to prevent sound. I think all Michael was trying to say, really, by adding the trees and adding all the vegetation, that's what he's trying to do, though, is prevent the sound from really radiating to his neighbors. The description of, people coming in and building a taller house has no reference to what this variance is requesting. We're requesting that a pool patio be, in a different location than it should be, obviously, but it was put there with all good intentions, and now he's trying to remedy that by spending a lot more money on vegetation and blocking the noise so it doesn't affect the neighbors. And I think he's done that, and I think the neighbors, I don't believe, have complained about that when we went to ask them if they had a problem with it. So I think that's where we stand.
Okay, thank you. So just to be clear, Tom, when you went in with these drawings, this was before construction, before the pool house was located there?
No, both. We went in when we submitted the drawings, so they clearly have the drawings showing that it's 12 inches of separation right now between the pool and the pool patio instead of 5 feet. And then I went in after the meeting with the ZBA because I was a little disturbed because she had told me, there was confusion, that she had told me that she wasn't going to protest us filing a variance for it. I didn't know that Mark Catallato was not requesting a variance. I thought he was requesting a variance just to have it. He requested a change basically of her ruling of the, state code on where a patio can be in relationship to the pool or something like that. So he filed for something other than what I thought. So I just went in to talk to her to clear it up so that, she and I were okay with the understanding of what we were both talking about. And when I did, I asked, could you just look at that permit again? Because you can look at the plans and it clearly shows that we were saying only 12 inches. And she pulled it out and she showed me the plans and she said, oh, it does say that. So it was just a misunderstanding, as I said.
Right. So just one more time. So you did this before you built the pool house and the patio there. You went to them and asked them to modify the permit. You left the drawings with them.
Yes.
Yes, that's correct.
That happened before we built it, and then after we built it, and there was an issue with it, I went there again, and I talked. The second time I talked to Ann, not when we submitted. I did not talk to Ann. I only talked to Ann when we after the fact.
Right, because Tom, that typically you get a modified permit before you start doing the work again. But anyway, I think we've gone over this enough. That's helpful though. Board members, any questions for Tom?
I understand that, and I agree with that. But if you submitted a plan and you submitted approval to do that, I would think that for some reason there's nothing issued, but there's obviously something submitted. So I don't know why it wasn't issued ever. It was just we had a permit to do it. I asked permission. I had it inspected. All the health department inspected it. They have a stamp on it. The town inspected it. They approved all the insulation and everything, the plumbing in it, and everything was done properly. So I don't know why in their process they didn't actually hand us a permit other than the one we had, but we did go through the right process.
Yeah, okay, that's helpful. Thank you, Tom.
All right.
Board members, any questions for Thomas Cooper? No? Okay, thanks, Tom. Now we'll hear from the planning department. Michael, if you would, please.
Evening, board members. Mike Delaware for the planning department.
Chair, would you swear him in, please?
Oh, yes, I got to swear you in too, Michael. Michael, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Good evening, Michael.
Good evening, board members. As we've kind of already reiterated, this goes back to November when we originally heard the appeal, and they withdrew prior to a decision being rendered on that, and applied for the variance to keep the pool patio in the rear of the parcel. We really don't have too much to say about it. We're really kind of leaving it up to the board. I mean, they could remove a section of the patio to conform. It would kind of be in line with the area over here for the pool house, and it would then conform to the pool setback. I can't really speak to, the goings on in the building department, but the assumption is that if they submitted a plan and didn't get anything formally in writing, then it's not really something approved to be constructed, and the building department wouldn't have been able to approve it in this configuration because of that side yard setback issue. So I don't know if really leaving the record open specifically for those plans does too much. I believe the applicant submitted plans for this structure to the board's record. So really what we'd be looking for would be something in writing that the building department actually signed off on that change in comparison to the original proposal that was approved when where it was a cabana more on the north side of the lot.
Yeah, I would still like to see the plans because I think it is pertinent if this was done and if they went back afterwards and if Ann Glennon pulled them up and sure enough they were there. So I am going to keep that request to the applicant.
Yeah, let me see if they submitted it to the board's file. I believe I have a copy of them in my file, so they should be roughly the same. That way we're not kind of getting redundant.
And November 1st, I see.
Variance application pending. All right, here. Building plans dated 11/17, November of 2017.
That sounds good.
Yeah, so those have been submitted to the board's file. So really, it would be whether or not they got some sort of approval from the building department.
And if you zoom in there, you can actually see in two occasions, just on this front sheet, for example, the 12-inch at the bottom and then the 1 foot at the
Draw
top.
stone fill, yeah.
Yeah. And who made that bubble, Michael? Is that you bubbled that when you went in for the revision?
Correct. All the changes were bubbled.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, I have a question for Mr. Cooper.
Yes.
Tom?
Yes, I'm here.
Tom? Okay.
Go ahead,
Tom.
Roy.
Yep.
Tom, if you went into the
I'm here.
building department yep, okay, Tom. So if you went into the building department and the building department said you cannot build that, would you build it anyway?
Of course not.
Okay, thank you. That's my answer. That's my question.
Okay, Michael, did you want to continue, Michael Delalio?
I really don't have too much further on this.
That's okay. Yeah.
Really kind of where we stand.
Yeah, thanks for all your work on this, Michael. Appreciate it. Board members, any questions for Michael Delalio? No? Okay. Okay. I guess we have no one calling in from the public, council, correct? I have to say that now that Michael Delalio showed us that we have those on the file, I apologize. I didn't realize that we probably did see them a long time ago. I did not realize that those were the plans that were given to the building department. So what I'm getting at, we have them digitally, and if Tom Cooper is sworn in and Michael, our applicant is, one minute over your last name here, Michael, is sworn in as well. Basically what I'm saying is I think now that I could retract my request, I think I'm okay with not holding the written record open for those. because
Yeah.
I think we've seen them and we have them digitally, and these guys are swearing that those are the same plans.
What we have for the file is the permit that was issued in 2016 and attached to that building permit. I believe Angwin provided it. It has 3 different surveys on it with 3 different versions. So there's the original with the cabana to the side.
Right.
And there's 2 others with the cabana behind the pool. So that's in the record, and I will make sure that that full document is digitally shared with all of the board members.
Great. Thank you, Nancy Lynn. And Michael, would you do us a favor, Delalia? Would you as well, whenever you can, email that November 17th set that we just looked at as well? Michael?
Sure, I can get that to you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Jason, are there any callers on the line?
Aside from Mr. Cooper, there are no other callers on the line.
So you don't have anybody from the public, Chair?
Okay,
No.
thank you. And does the applicant have anything you can wrap up, Michael, if you'd like to?
Actually, just a clarifying question. Do you still need to get the slab drawing?
No, I think we'll take you. You're an architect and you're sworn in. You're telling us that's the way it is. I think we can take your word for that.
Okay.
Because I understand it's done that way often. So I think we're okay. So I think you're off the hook as far as providing any more drawings. Okay, Michael?
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Board members, you okay with that?
Yes.
Okay.
John,
Yes.
John, didn't you ask him to supply a cost estimate?
He did. He gave us what he roughly, that's,
all
I'm
right.
fine with that. Yeah, Thanks, Joan. Any other questions, Joan, or anyone else? No? Okay, then. Thank you all. I'm going to make a motion with regard to 60 Gansett Lane LLC at 60 Gansett Lane and Gansett Tax Map 300-172-7-38 to close the public hearing and the written record.
Chair, you cannot close the written record.
Oh, not for, yeah. So what do I just close the public
Closing
hearing?
a public hearing, and that the record will be closed 2 weeks after
Right.
the posting of the transcript of tonight's hearing, and that anyone in the public as well as the applicant is free to submit any additional items for the record during that time period.
Okay, great. Now, can I say what she said, or do I repeat
Yes,
that?
you can.
What our council just, so we will be closing the public hearing and not the written record per our council's direction. And thank you, Nancy Lynn.
No problem.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Second. Okay, concur.
Concur.
Thank you all. Okay, thank you. Thank you all. And we'll move on to our second. You all can leave the meeting. Michael and Tom, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you very much for everyone's time.
You're welcome. Okay, board members, we will move on to our second public hearing this evening. The applicant is Christopher and Catherine Vatter. And lot size and location is 12,629 square feet at 272 Shore Road, Gansett, tax map number 300-84-5-3. Description: to repair and allow an existing 740 square foot deck, 66 feet of retaining wall to remain, and repair a 64 square foot shed on a parcel of land containing dunes, beach vegetation, tidal wetland, surface waters, and within a velocity flood zone. The relief sought is a natural resources special permit pursuant to section 255-4-20, variances from section 255-4-30, minimum wetland setbacks, section 255-4-40, minimum dune crest setbacks of the town code, and any other relief necessary. The following variances are required: 3 variances of 74 feet, 74 feet, and 3 variances of 74 feet, 74 feet, and 73.4 feet are required for the retaining wall, fencing, and decking to remain 1 foot, 1 foot, and 1.6 feet from the dune crest, where 75-foot setbacks are required. 3 variances of 44 feet, 43.9 feet, and 38 feet are required to allow the retaining walls, decking, and fencing to remain 56 feet, 56.1 feet, and 62 feet from the tidal wetlands where 100-foot setbacks are required. Zoning district A5 and the velocities flood zone here is a velocity VE flood zone, and the secret class is type 2. And council, we have proper affidavit of service and posting.
What we have is that an affirmation that it was, mailing was done on the 2nd day of June, and the posting was done on the 30th day of May. So the paperwork appears to be in order.
Okay, thank you, council.
And just so you know, the applicant, Mr. Vatter, is an attorney, so you'll be spared having to swear him in.
Okay, lucky him. Great, thank you, Nancy Lynn. Okay, this again is MIM Gansett District. So I will do my field report here. Michael, if you could help me out. Delalio.
Sure, your photo
Okay.
should be up now, John.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Michael. Okay, so this is the a posting of the in the window of the house. I have to say, council, I don't know if in the directions or something, but we always talked about this, clarifying this, but I really don't think it's a very good idea having it behind the glass, because from a different angle, you step 1 foot and it's all glare or something. I just think down the road, it really seems like it should be a posting outside of the house. You know, I know this happened one other time right across the street, actually.
I do know that the instructions that Denise used to send out did specifically say on posts. I did not see do not have the instructions for
Sure.
this one before me, so I don't know if those carried over in our modified instructions. But
Yeah.
we will double check them and make sure that in the modified ones it's clear that it should be posting on a post, so that it doesn't risk the possibility of the glare.
Yeah, because most people driving by aren't really looking, you know, in windows, and it's got a shade and all that stuff. But anyway, thank you. Next slide, please, Michael. You can see what I'm talking about. If you were driving by, you really wouldn't know this property was posted. It is in that left window. So this is a view from Shore Road. The shed is on the left. A portion of it's cut off by the gate there on the left side of your photo. And then over by my car on the right, there's also some walls there that kind of enclose the parking. I have another shot of that. Next photo, Michael, please. Here I'm taking a look, looking, I guess that would be north and east, probably almost, yeah, northeast, yeah. Down Shore Road, okay, give you the character of the neighborhood there. Next, please, Michael. So now I've come through that gate, and I'm standing probably kind of next to that, excuse me, next to that shed, looking out to the water. The retaining wall, you can see a portion of it straight in the center. Yeah, thank you, Michael. Yeah, exactly. And then the rest of it, Michael, maybe you can bring the cursor to the left. The sand, where the sand is kind of coming in, yeah, the rest of the retaining wall is kind of back in that sand where the sand's kind of blown over it a little bit. Next, and the decking you see there. Thank you. Yeah, this is good. Thanks, Michael. Here I stepped out, and I'm showing you, I'm looking to the west, we'll call it. It's my southwest. And just showing you how incredibly healthy this dune is, literally right up to that retaining wall. It's very dense with all the perfect vegetation, I'm sure. Next, Michael.
They're a little out of order. I just got to scroll to the front again.
That's okay. Now I turn around from that shot. You can see I'm looking back at the shed. And again, you can see the retaining wall. Michael, put your cursor to the right of the shed. Would you see some of it collapsing there a little bit? Yeah, and that's kind of where it is, where Michael did the cursor. That would kind of be where the line would be. And again, you see the decking there and the gate. Thanks, Michael. Next, please. Here I've turned to the, we'll call it the northeast again. Beautiful spot, obviously. You see sort of the decking there that is kind of in the need of repair zone. And you can see literally it's right up at the dune there. And you can see all that dune is pretty healthy. And from this photo, it's really doing fairly well. It looks like it. And again, if you see the telephone pole and you see the shed to the left of it, you can see how incredibly healthy that dune is right there as well. And it's high too. You know, it's pretty high. It really goes up there. Next, Michael. I don't know if there is any more. Oh, here, when I came back to the parking, I took that shot. That's kind of the typical construction of those walls there. And that may be it, Michael. I think that's it.
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions, board members, on the field report? No? Okay. Okay, Mr. Vader, would you like to speak?
Yes, board members, can you hear me okay?
We can. Good evening.
Good evening. Just so for the record's clear, my address is 272 Shore Road, Gansett, New York, P.O. Box 384. My sister's also a lessee on this property. Her address is 58 Bluff Road. I believe she also uses P.O. Box 384, but she may have her own P.O. Box as well. We've owned this property since my family, I think since 1966, according to my mother, and I could confirm with the deeds or the leases. We started in, I think, the end of 2017 to start replacing some of the windows because they were literally falling out of the property. It was at that time, I think it was either in November or December at that time, we received a notification from the trustees that a permit was required for the installation of the windows. We subsequently obtained the permits to do the windows, and we did do some interior restorations that we also obtained a permit for. Sometime in, I believe it was the end of December of 2018, when we were going to close out those building permits, the building inspector notified us that the deck and the shed and retaining wall needed variances, and there was no permits for those. It's my understanding, I know looking at some of the surveys and so forth, it's my understanding based upon conversations with my mother and others that the deck and the retaining wall were installed in late 70s, early 80s, and have been in that same spot ever since. When you were looking at the pictures, the retaining wall has really, other than where the shed is and facing the water, has literally fallen down. That dune, from my recollection as a child, was not that big, and I believe attributed to the fact that there was a retaining wall there all those years, that it's actually grown the way it has, and it's as big as it's ever been. So we're looking for a variance to fix the retaining wall where the deck is, to repair or replace. The shed is literally falling down as well, and to fix the decking while we're doing it. Nothing's been there. That's been there since, like I said, at least the 80s. We have had no complaints as to it. It's consistent with the surrounding areas, which all have that type of decking and wood retaining walls as well. As part of, also just bringing up to date, as part of the requirements of, to obtain a building permit, it was to obtain a DEC permit or a letter saying they have, I apologize. I think no objection, or might be another term of art I'm not using correctly, non-jurisdiction. We have retained an engineer / architect who has prepared plans. I haven't gotten them yet, but I'm hoping to have them next week or two. And we do intend to submit the DEC permit application, hopefully within the next week or two, whenever I do get the signed plans from the architect.
Okay, thank you. I certainly would like that. We'd like to keep the written record open for that. I wonder if it's good you're working with an architect and an engineer, because I wonder if I would like to see as far as a construction protocol.
Yeah, I agree.
So a construction protocol, Mr. Vader, but as well, Roy and I both know about construction. And as you may know, Mr. Vader, that you can do a retaining wall one or two ways. You can either drive using an auger. You wouldn't need major equipment. You can either auger down a vertical post that literally cantilevers out of the ground to hold the horizontal members, or you put lay logs and dead men, they're called, where you have to go back into the earth and then put a parallel board and a structure, a beam or something, or concrete. That's called a dead man. And to do the lay logs and the dead man, you would literally have to take apart that whole really nice dune to the west and the southwest there, if you follow me. So I would like to see you work with your engineer to come up with a technique. I think it would help your case before this board, where you are literally augering a vertical post down instead of ripping the whole dune apart. Now, obviously, to do that, you'd have to come back a couple of feet, and as well, I would like to see a revegetation plan. We'd like to see so 3 things I'm asking you: a construction protocol, details on this, and hopefully it's augured vertical post and not the dead men and the lay log where you tear apart the whole dune. And third would be a revegetation plan for any damage that's incurred.
That's not a problem. The one thing the engineer did say to me, the driveway side was done with the dead man type of a scenario.
Right.
My engineer said to me, his concern was he didn't think bringing equipment would be permitted down there. So that's why he was leaning towards, we had discussed both plans. And I'm happy to do whatever makes the board happy, but his concern was bringing equipment down there. His protocol was to actually just have it shoveled back, with just shovels, have somebody dig it back that way with no equipment.
Well, I'm fine.
You can
a few feet, but you can actually two men on a hand, a plug-in. You could plug in an auger. You gotta know what you're doing. But I think you understand. You don't need to bring a massive piece of equipment. You can literally go in there with an auger, do 4 feet, pull it out, put another bit on, do another 4 feet. 2 workers can do that quite easily.
Not a problem. That was just his comments to me. I have no objection either way. His initial comment was, don't bring any equipment down, do it with shovels. And I have no vested interest either way. I just want to put the retaining wall back.
Right. Roy, were you going to say something?
Mr. Chairman, I'm agreeing with me. I think it would be not advantageous to destroy the vegetation on that dune and the dune structure as a whole. And I think that by hand, you can either auger or you can hand helical pile into that dune, tiebacks to your retaining wall. But yeah, I agree with you, and that we should do it. Also, I want to be able to see where the construction limiting fence is going to be relative to the deck replacement.
Yeah.
Because that dune comes right up to that deck. It's almost swallowing the deck at some point, right?
Right.
So you have to be careful how that's treated.
Dune, if I can, the dune was about, when you look at those pictures, the dune was about back where at the edge of the shed, and now the retaining walls collapsed. But it was previously pretty much carrying the line of the shed down. And it was our plan with the engineer to put it not quite as far back as that, but somewhere, a few feet in front of it is what he had suggested.
So you'd be making it smaller. You're saying you'd be making the usable area smaller?
The usable area of the deck smaller, the length of the retaining wall would be the same.
Yeah, well, that's even better. So if you could show how you're doing that, that's going to help
That's fine.
That'll help out.
It's going to be, according to what, I haven't seen the plans yet, but according to what my engineer said, the retaining wall would be a few feet in front. The new retaining wall would be a few feet in front of the existing retaining wall. But I just want to be clear, it's not where the sand is. It's where, when you look at the shed and you see the little retaining wall,
yes,
a few feet east of that.
Yeah, well, that's good. And again, if he has a good construction protocol where you're not doing, I think you get the idea. We don't want to see that dune torn apart.
Understand.
And this will help your case, I think. Board members, any questions for Mr. Vader? No? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Vader. We'll hear from the planning department now. Michael? Thanks, Michael.
Evening, board members. Again, Michael for the planning department. We really, this is kind of, the retaining wall kind of shoehorned in there with the deck and everything else. This originally came to us, I remember speaking to Mr. Vader about it a couple of years ago. It's an interesting kind of situation, the whole Lazy Point area. Mm-hmm. And in going back through the aerials with him, conclusively we could place the deck and retaining wall in 88 on the lot. And I believe I submitted those photos to the file. The shed, I believe, was sometime prior to 84. And it was just the aerials were just inconclusive up until 88 that the deck and the retaining wall were there. So, you know, it's been relatively long-standing. The trustees have voiced no real objection to it. We do have concerns in Lazy Point with some of the development going on and, you know, staying within the existing footprints of these residences on the north side of Shore Road here, and not allowing for any expansion. But this is kind of an unfortunate circumstance where the building permits were never issued, COs were never issued, and there's no real record of the structure being there. I think we're right with a construction protocol and re-veg plan. You know, it sounds like it'll be a little slightly smaller, but it should be well mitigated, the work on the lot.
Right. And Mr. Vada, being an attorney, Mr. Vada, when did you say you believe it was first?
I believe we've been there since '66. I believe that the deck and the shed went in the late '70s. My mother has pictures of us as children, but not dated. But by looking at us, I would say the deck and the original retaining wall went in probably no later than 1980. But that's I couldn't swear to that because I was alive, but I couldn't agree to that. I certainly know that in '88, the deck and retaining wall were certainly there because as my summer when I was 16, which would have been '86, I worked down there, doing work down there. In '86, it was definitely there. So it would have to be in my if you're asking me, sometime between late '70s and certainly '86.
Okay.
When it was there. Also, just so we're clear, we are not increasing the size of the building structure at all. The building is what it is. We're not trying to increase or enlarge anything. We're really just trying to, with the deck, you really need the deck. That's how you access the house. There's the door, the exit, to get in and out of the house. So to walk around the driveway, you really need, the deck, as you can see from the pictures. And there was a CO prior to us getting the building permit and doing the windows. There was a CO for the building. There was not a CO. I'm not saying there was a CO for the deck and the shed, but there was a CO for the house.
Okay, thank you. Michael, Delalio, any other comments?
No, board members, unless you have any questions for me about it.
Well, if mid-'80s to late '80s, that would have required a permit or a variance from this board, right? For that deck?
Correct. The only overriding factor in that is that it wasn't in, as far as I can tell, that it was very consistently applied on the trustee lots for, I believe, for a long time. All they require was a trustee permit. So it wasn't until, probably in the last 20 years that, we've been issuing building permits on that, because these are regarded as, it is one big lot, according to Suffolk County tax map, and then these are actually deeded lot lines. So they weren't actually tax map parcels really associated with until the town kind of created them.
So you say trustee permit. Did they have a trustee permit, or that's just for the lease of the property overall?
They did get a trustee permit for the work, I believe, 2 years ago or so.
I believe it was the end of 2017. I can get you the exact date, but the trustees did approve it. And also just one of the documents, the survey from 1986 of April of '86 shows the deck and the shed. I'm not sure that it's listing the retaining wall separately, but it's certainly from April 24 of '86, the survey, or April 17, excuse me, is showing the deck and the shed.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Board members, any questions or comments? No, okay. And Jason, LTV, anyone on the line, any public by any chance, or?
This is Mike, Chair, on no. There are no callers on the line.
Okay, thanks, Mike.
You're welcome.
Okay, board members.
Chair,
Yeah, go ahead.
before you close this, would you ask the applicant how much time he would need in order to submit the items that you've asked for, so we have some idea of when we're calling for the
Sure.
record to be closed?
Yeah, if you please, Mr. Banner.
I'll need to speak with my engineer because he's been giving me a delay. I believe if we have 2 weeks and then 2 weeks for the keeping the record open after that, if I could have a month, I would appreciate it if the board would consider that. I just don't know. I have not, my engineer has told me that the plans have been done and ready to be signed for about a week, and I asked him to have them for this meeting, but did not get them. So
Right.
that's just my concern, is giving you a hard date and then I'm still having difficulties getting it.
Okay, so
So,
council.
July
ahead.
14th, is that a reasonable timeframe, July 14th?
I believe it is, if that question is directed to me.
Yes, it is, Mr.
Yes,
Vetter,
I believe it was. I believe that's fair.
Okay. And then we would leave it, council, we would leave it open for 2 weeks after July 14th?
We would leave it open for 2 weeks after that to allow for any additional
Public.
comment,
From the
because
public, or-
we
right.
have to allow for additional comment with our modified program.
Right, okay, thank you, council.
And
So
Okay.
it would leave it open till the 28th, then, July 28th.
Okay, we'll do that. Okay, thank you. Okay, so I'd like to make a motion with regard to Christopher and Catherine Vatter at 272 Shore Road, Gansett, tax map number 300-84-5-3, to close the public hearing and leave the written record open until July 28th.
Second.
Concur.
Concur.
Okay, thank you all.
Thank you. And if I could just say, I apologize. I'm the one who posted the signs in the window. I thought it was better that I'm getting wet, so I apologize.
Okay.
My mistake.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Vatter. Thank you, Michael Cavalio. Okay. We will move on to our next public hearing this evening. And that is, the applicant here is Philip Abellis. And the lot size and location is 7,617 square feet at total at 91 Girard Drive in Springs, Harbor Protection Overlay District, tax map number 300-41-2-5. And the project description is to demolish an existing residence and construct a 1,090 square foot two-story residence and sanitary system with 212 square feet of decking and patio and privacy wall on a parcel of land containing tidal wetlands. The relief sought is a natural resources special permit pursuant to section 255-4-20 and variances from section 255-4-40 minimum wetland setbacks, section 255-3-75 harbor protection overlay district regulations, and section 255-11-72D relative height of the town code and any other relief necessary. The following variances are required. 1, 2, and 3 variances of 61.6 feet, 68.6 feet, and 52.1 feet are required to construct the residence decking and privacy wall 38.4 feet, 31.4 feet, and 47.9 feet, respectively, from wetlands where a 100-foot setback is required. 3, a 107-foot variance is required to install the sanitary system 93 feet from wetlands where a 200-foot setback is required. 4 and 5 variances are required to allow the residence to extend beyond the relative height pyramid. Pardon me, I'll close the window. There's noise. At relative height pyramid restriction by 10.5 feet along the northern side yard and 8 feet along the southern side yard lot lines. This is in an A2 residence, VE velocity, AE elevation 7 and X flood zones. And the secret class is type 2. And council, do we have a proper affidavit of service and posting?
Well, we have affidavit of notice by mail on June 3rd and a posting on June 5th. So the paperwork appears to be in order.
Okay, thank you, council. Okay, this is in board member Vice Chair Delene's Springs District, if you would, Roy, your field report.
Sure, Mr. Chairman, and if you will, I'm going to share screen with you so I can share my photos. Can you all see that?
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Okay. All right, great. Technology's working.
Yeah.
Just give me a second. Okay. So this is a photo of the site. You can see the entrance to the house in the background and the posting, and the post was properly posted. This is on the east side of Gerard Drive. I take a photo of closer to the house so you can see the type of neighborhood that we're dealing with here. The neighboring house to the north is slightly forward of the house that's in part of this application. Coming into the backyard, you can see the extent of the brick patio and outlooking Gardener's Bay, and the bulkhead before us. Scanning to the south, you'll see the brick patio, the rear of the house, relative to the bulkhead and Gardener's Bay. Coming up to the bulkhead, you see that little groin bulkhead leading out, and you can see the bulkhead. There's some questions at some point in the TAM about repair of the bulkhead. More importantly, in the TAM, we're talking about this block retaining wall that is requested by the planning department to be removed. And I think the applicant has also submitted that it will be removed. Also in this photo, you can see the cottages that are relative to this neighborhood. And then scanning more to the south, you can see again, the cottages to the south, and there's relative consistency with the type of construction and the residences located in this neighborhood. And that's it, Mr. Chairman. That's the last of my photos.
Okay, thank you, Roy. Any questions, board members, for Roy on the field report?
I'm
No?
sorry. Yeah, Roy, in the applicant's update that they sent us in February, they said the gravel area on the south side was removed. I didn't notice in the photos. Did you observe that?
Well, we can have the applicant, yes, hold on. Let's see if I did have a photo and it didn't get copied into my thing, but I think there was gravel, but we can ask, Teresa, we can ask the applicant that too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did see that. We are looking at towards the south in this photo, but
Yeah, okay.
yeah. You wish me to keep sharing screen, or should I guess we should turn off so we can hear the applicant.
Okay, yeah, sure. Thanks, Roy. That's good. Okay, do we have the applicant?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, great. Oh, it's Susan. Good evening, Susan.
Can you see me?
I can. Thanks. I'll swear you in, Susan, if you raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And was that your right hand or your left hand?
You know, looking at the screen, it looked like my left, but I think it was your right. I did the wrong hand. Do you want to do it again?
No, I think we're okay.
All right.
Good evening, Susan. If you could go ahead, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Yes, the applicant purchased this property in 2018 with the intention of renovating the existing structure. When she consulted with her architects and engineers, they discovered that it had been poorly maintained over the years, some significant structural damage to the foundation, the chimney, as well as some very, very poorly repaired fire damage to the structure. So the decision was made that she was going to simply reconstruct a similar house in kind in place. Originally, our original proposal was to construct a 900 square foot footprint house in the same location. And after discussion with Brian Frank, we decided we would move it back. And so it's been moved back approximately 10 feet from our original proposal. It is still a 900 square foot footprint. And that it's So basically, we're proposing to take all the improvements out from the bulkhead out. That concrete wall is going. The outfall pipes that are shown coming through those concrete walls, that's going. There, to answer the question about the gravel area, there isn't a current gravel area that was originally proposed just to control weeds. That's been removed, and what we're putting there now is a simple walkway that attaches to a door on the side, and that is the side of the house that there will be an outdoor shower on. So the proposal is for a 900 square foot residence with a small loft above it, a rear wooden deck, which is approximately 114 square feet, a small front porch and a walkway, that's 109 square feet by my calculations, an outdoor shower and walkway on the south side of the house that I mentioned. We are proposing a new IA septic system in the front yard between the house and Girard Drive. We're removing any non-native plantings. We're bringing in clean sand and restoring the site to native vegetation with beach grass. The overall proposal has a total lot coverage of 1,431 square feet, which is a reduction of 525 square feet from what we have today. And we have, multiple variances, which John did outline. And we believe that it's a very modest proposal and that it does meet the variance standards, particularly the non-conforming lot kind of creates that hardship. It's not self-created. The goals and the benefits that this applicant is seeking cannot be achieved without variances on this lot. The variance requested are the minimum necessary to make a reasonable use of this property. The proposal is consistent with current improvements on the parcel as well as adjacent properties in the neighborhood. The proposal will have no adverse impacts on the neighborhood or the environment. The scale and style are consistent with the neighborhood, and there are multiple improvements being proposed that will benefit the neighborhood and the environment. Those improvements include the IA septic system, a construction of a much more energy efficient and code compliant house that is moved further back from the bulkhead and the surface waters of Gardner's Bay, removing that dilapidated concrete wall, which is quite an eyesore. Restoration of the site with the native plants that I mentioned, removal of the dozed drain pipes, and of course the introduction of gutters, leaders, and dry wells to handle any runoff. You should also know that the project has been reviewed by the Suffolk County Department of Health Services, ready for their approval pending your review. The New York State DEC has also reviewed the project and issued a letter of no jurisdiction for Tidal Wetlands Act and Coastal Erosion Hazard Area Acts. We did have the opportunity to take a look at Mr. Frank's revised memo, and we have no objections to any of the conditions that he is proposing should you approve this application.
Have you seen the letter that we received from the trustees on your submission?
Yes, I have seen that letter. Mr. Frank sent it to me this afternoon. I was just looking for it. I thought I had it right in front of me. I was a little perplexed by it because it was on their agenda in March, just before our previous hearing. So I'm not sure why they didn't have ample time to formulate a response. But I believe their concerns and their conditions are much consistent with Mr. Frank's conditions of approval. And of course, we don't have any objection to those.
I note that they don't have a date on their letter, so it's a little hard to determine when the letter was written, other than that it does reference COVID. So we know it's within the last 3 months, but when within the last 3 months, we're not totally sure based on no date.
Yeah, I just received that today from the trustee secretary, so I did not notice that. Thank you, Tim. Susan, do you have any idea?
When it was dated, I don't know. I'm assuming it's from their original meeting, which was March 8th or 9th. It was just before we were scheduled to be before you on March 17th, and they met on this matter just before then.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I had a chance to review the letter prior to this hearing as well.
Yeah.
And feel that the items number 1 through 4 will diligently, and we are looking at, as well as the planning department, the items that they were requesting.
Yeah, I agree, Roy. Thank you. I agree. And perhaps by the time, well, let's see, Council, we will be leaving this open no matter what for a couple of weeks, right? The written record for the transcript in the 2 weeks?
That's correct. We have to keep it open for at least 2 weeks after the transcript's posted. So
Right.
approximately 3 weeks.
So Brittany, maybe, I don't know if you want to speak with the trustees and see if they might pick this up at their next meeting, seeing that this board heard this application this evening. And as well, I agree with Roy that, you know, I think we're all looking at the same things. I feel the same way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if I could.
Go ahead, Jerry.
Now, if I can make a note, we did get a revised survey also, which is attached to the trustee letter also, for January 28, 2020, which reflects the new variance numbers. They've changed a bit from the original PAM numbers that you read out earlier. Brian Frank's updated memo lists the new variance numbers.
Yeah.
They were adjusted by 10 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're reflected on that survey. So that's the latest survey, January 28, 2020.
Right.
If Susan could confirm that.
That is correct.
Okay.
Well, Susan, maybe you can follow up on that with them and just see if they might possibly be discussing it. But again, I agree with Vice Chair Talan here that I think we're all looking at the same things here. I appreciate.
And Mr. Chairman, if we can request that maybe the applicant address we do have a pyramid
Yes.
variance here as well. Can the applicant address that? And if it's possible, I don't know if Michael is on the line, if he could put up an elevation of the drawings or whatever, so the public can be aware of what's going on.
Or is Brian available? I thought I saw Brian.
Brian,
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Do we have a copy of the elevation drawing, Brian?
Yes, we do, and I can bring that up on the screen once I start sharing. I don't know if you want me to do that right now. I will.
No, that's fine. But maybe the applicant can. Yeah.
Sorry, I was going to say. So Susan, maybe you could follow up with the trustees and see if they might be able to discuss this, or just and let them know that we did hear this evening, and the record is still open for a few weeks.
Okay. I'm happy to do that.
Okay, thank you. And Susan, do you have any other comments? You can always come back later, or shall we hear Brian?
Not at the moment. I'll mute myself so Brian won't be interrupted by my office, which can be crazy sometimes.
Okay, thanks. Good evening, Brian.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman.
Chairman, you want to swear him in, please?
Oh, yeah, I
have my right hand raised.
Thank you, Brian. That hawk has both wings raised, but anyway. So good evening, Brian. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. If you could go ahead, Brian. Thank you.
All right. So property is located at the north end of Girard Drive. This is the property bordered in blue. It's on the Gardner's Bay side of Girard Drive. To the west side of Girard Drive are the Accabonac Harbor salt marshes. You see that there are sanitary setbacks to the Accabonac side and the Gardner's Bay side. This purple line is the GIS representation of the state's coastal erosion hazard line. That line was added to the January survey that the board has in the file, but I think it was missing from the earlier survey. And it just shows you where the improvements are relative to that coastal erosion hazard line. Mm-hmm. It also shows where the house is in relation to the neighboring properties. And Member Talan, pardon me, touched on that a little bit in his field presentation as well. This area of Girard Drive is a little less natural than areas to the south. The shoreline is extensively hardened. This property, as well as many of the neighboring properties, are fairly extensively cleared of their natural vegetation. But nonetheless, this remains one of the more sensitive areas within the town. The entire peninsula is obviously sensitive. And bringing the construction in line, increasing the setbacks from Gardner's Bay is an improvement to the application that the planning department supports, as well as the naturalization of the areas between what will be the new house and the bulkhead, removing that dilapidated cinder block retaining wall. I have some photos as well, but I think Member Talan, showed it picture perfect in his presentation, naturalizing that with beach grass. The sanitary system has been fairly centrally located between Accabonac Harbor and Gardner's Bay, 93 feet in one direction, 100 in the other. There were revised sanitary plans as well. It didn't really change any of the elements of the sanitary system design, just the location of the house. I'll bring up, I don't know if there's anything else that you want to see in this image or in site photos, or if you'd like me to bring up the elevation plan.
Sure, that would be great, Brian. The elevation would be great. Unless you think there's something we did not see and you want to show, feel free to.
Well, I think between the overhead aerial and Roy's photos, I think you get a pretty good sense of what the issues are on the property. I will go back and maybe show you one photo of the bulkhead. The condition of the bulkhead has been addressed by TF Engineering in response to the assessment, and essentially involves replacing or repairing the top whaler on the bulkhead. But I know the board has questions about the elevation plans, and this is the page that best depicts the pyramid height relief that's required. These plans measure them on the diagonal. It has been the practice of the town to measure them vertically, and that's what's reflected in the notice. Is a little bit different than the dimensions that are depicted on the elevation plan.
Right. We can't see on that. We can't see the 8'0" that's very close to it, right? It looks like it's on the right side there, the vertical dimension, Brian, correct?
I'm sorry?
I was saying we can see the 8
Oh, yes, correct. Yes, I apologize.
Yeah. Now, Brian, the existing house is about 12.7, and this is proposed. I don't see a proposed, oh, maybe on this drawing. What's our proposed first floor? 12.5, it looks like. Is that correct? 12'5"? It looks like it's on the sheet. It looks like 12.
The first floor elevation, according to the survey, is 12 feet above sea level.
12 feet, right, okay. Can you scroll through, just go up and down, show us a little more the feel of the house? You can scroll down or whatever you want to do, scroll up.
Sure. Oh, gosh, I didn't want to change the size.
That's all right.
Yeah, I got my magnifying glass out.
I'm sorry. I know it looks very good on my screen, but that doesn't.
No, it looks good. These are very clear. That's good.
Okay. This is the first floor plan.
Yeah.
This is the plan view of the second floor loft. It's about 250 square feet, maybe a little bit more. Yeah. And Ms. Brierly is welcome to correct me if I have that incorrectly. And these are the elevations, the roof plan. This is the elevation plan that we were looking at, and the side view. This is the bump out, the dormer that you saw reflected on the on the second floor plan above.
Right.
Sorry about that. I'm going to practice for the next Zoom meeting.
No, that's good. Yeah, just go back to, oh, that's good. That one's helpful. Let's look at that. That's the water side, I imagine.
So Brian, that loft that's facing what, east?
I believe the loft is facing east, yes.
Yeah.
So does that, no, I don't, that does, okay, so I'm just wondering if it's exacerbating the pyramid, but I guess not, because the ridge is higher.
Yeah, it's part of, I would say it's part of the pyramid.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Should I keep going? Is there anything else I can bring up on the screen?
Now, what are we proposing as far as a foundation? It looks like a masonry foundation there, Brian.
I believe it's a full poured concrete foundation,
Right.
8 feet in depth.
Because is this, let's see, is this in the X portion of it right here? Yeah, it is. This is in the X. So they can use, so that works, right?
Okay.
Thanks, Brian.
Sure. Just real quickly, the bulkhead is apparently in better shape than this photo suggests. There was an engineering assessment done on the structural components, and the extent of disrepair seems to be limited to the top whaler that the applicant has proposed to replace. It requires a natural resources special permit, not a variance, and the planning department, if the board is inclined, would encourage incorporating that into their approval rather than a separate application.
Okay, thank you, Brian. I'm sure that's fine. Board members? Thank you.
That's pretty much all I have in my presentation. If there are any other questions, I'll certainly do my best to answer them.
Thank you. Board members, any questions for Brian?
Well, I might, Brian, that the bulkhead, including it into the application would be the repair of the bulkhead. You want to just repeat that? Because I think we're going to make a motion for that. We got to figure out how to do that.
TF Engineering in their proposal proposed repairing the top whaler, basically resetting that top whale. And if that's the limit of the work, I don't know that you need plans or a construction protocol. The planning department wanted to the applicant to address the condition of the bulkhead. If it needed to get replaced in its entirety, it would make sense to do it before there was a new house and new IA sanitary system that they would have to, work around.
Right.
Okay, so then we will probably make a motion to repair it per TF Engineering's recommendation proposal.
Yes, and language very similar to what you just said is in the revised assessment that was just sent out to the board recently.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, Brian, just a quick question. We have Gardner's Bay on one side of this property and then the salt marshes on the other side. And it sounds like you're comfortable that the positioning of this structure is as, I guess, centrally located as possible, where it is proposed to be located is as centrally located as reasonable and as it can be.
That's correct, Member Brenneman. This area here also goes downhill, so as you get, it really is a squeeze, and there's no perfect fit on here. The planning department's recommendation was to increase that setback from the more volatile side for the structure, a little better coastal resiliency to retreat away from the coastal hazard line and the Gardner's Bay side without getting much closer to the Accabonac Harbor side of the property, of the Accabonac wetlands.
And Brian, I believe in your analysis, and thank you for your work on this. You mentioned that another intent was to not to work with the 20-to-1 ratio grade so that retaining walls are not required for the new IA system. Is that correct?
Well, I think that was important to the applicant, and as long as it meets health department specifications, there is something to be said for avoiding those concrete waterproof retaining walls when that can be done without compromising other environmental protection parameters, and that does seem to be what they did here.
Mm-hmm. Great. Thank you.
Yes, if I may comment on that. We had TF Engineering reevaluate it when we received the first memo to see how far back we could actually move the house without requiring a retaining wall on Girard Drive. And what we were able to do was shift the septic tank to be more alongside the leaching field. We're not able to move the leaching field. If we move the leaching field, we will require a retaining wall on Girard Drive, and that is something we do not want to do. It's I know it's the most disturbed area, Gerard Drive, but it's quite beautiful when you drive down there. And I don't think anybody wants to see a concrete wall at the edge of the road. So we opted to simply shift the septic tank and move the house back 10 feet, which is, I think, the best we can do without introducing more hardscape to the property.
Thank you, Susan. Any other comments, board members, or Brian or Susan? Okay, do we have anyone in the public, Jason? On the phone or?
No, Chair, there are no callers on the line.
Oh, Michael, I'm sorry, Mike.
No
Sorry.
problem.
Yep. Okay, great. Okay, Roy, would you like to make a motion then?
Sure, Mr. Chairman, and see if I can get this right. We're going to make a motion to close the public hearing, but keep the record open we keep it open until the, what are we keeping it open for? 2 weeks? Is that it, Nancy Lynn, or?
2 weeks after
2
we
weeks?
post, after we post the transcript. Yep.
Okay, fine. So, and I would also like to add to that motion that we include the repair of the bulkhead as proposed by TF Engineering.
Second.
Concur.
And I concur. Thank you, Roy. Thank you, Susan, and thank you, Brian.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
You as well. Okay, board members, let's see. I believe that squares up our public hearings for the night, and we move on to a modification. This is with regard to Linda Burkhart is the applicant. The lot size and location is 25,893 square feet at 255 Fairview Avenue, Montauk, tax map number 300-19-9.1. The zoning district is X. Pardon me, it's not noted. It's an X flood zone. I don't see a zoning district here, though. The secret class is type 2. And the original determination was filed on March 26, 2014. Is Brian going to handle this, or Michael, or?
I've got it, board members.
Thanks,
This
Michael.
is a modification of the original approval. We went out there for a CO inspection probably about a year ago at this point. After the completion of the pool, and we had a few issues, namely there were a couple of structures that were installed that weren't part of the original approval. Scroll down here to the most recently supplied survey. You see here this kind of landscaping rock wall. The pool enclosure wasn't in the original location. The pool was, so it just didn't line up with the board's approval. There was also a pool fence that was installed that was never part of the original approval. So, we really don't have an objection to the modification. It changes a few things in comparison to the one that was originally approved. They never ended up doing the patio over here. The pool equipment was proposed on the, the east side of the lot, and they moved it to kind of within, by the edge of clearing here. It's no greater than the variance that was originally approved. It's 99 feet to the enclosure. The pool equipment itself is greater than 100 feet. And so, like I said, we're just kind of bringing what was done in line with the board's approval through a modification of the original permit.
Mm-hmm. And the patio, again, the patio is not proposed to be constructed. This would eliminate the patio.
Nope, this would be it. So it would just be the coping around the pool, no patio over here.
Mm-hmm.
They got approvals for the hot tub over here, a couple of the other structures along this side that were built without permits. So as part of that application.
Mhm.
And the pool fence, is this wire fence, wood fence there?
Yeah, it's this
The fencing?
mesh wire fence around here.
Mm.
Yeah. So, and it's really, it's something that's required by code. So,
Right.
it just wasn't part of the original application. We're finding, a few of these days. So,
yeah,
it just wasn't something that was considered as part of the application, even though it is required by code.
Okay. Well, from what I see, I'm okay with the modification.
I am as well.
Same here.
Me too.
Yep.
Okay, that sounds unanimous.
Okay.
Terry, would you like to make a motion, please?
Sure. For the modification for Linda Burkhart, 255 Fairview Avenue, Montauk, tax map 300-19-9.1. I make a motion to approve the modification.
Second.
I'll concur.
Concur.
And I concur. Okay, thank you, Michael. Thank you, Terry. Okay, moving along, I believe next we have an extension of time for Paul Fuller, and this is the applicant, and the lot size and location 45 Industrial Road, Montauk. Tax map number 300-27-3-4. It's zoning district B residence, secret class type 2. Extension of a time request to obtain a certificate of occupancy, and this is in board member Berger's Montauk district. Terry, if you would.
Well, I don't have any more information about it. I assume, does this mean that there is a permit on this?
Terry, I have it here if you'd like me to read it
In
off.
front of you? Oh, yeah, if you could. And the original determination. Sure.
I have it. It was dated May 20th, 2020. Michael Delalio. And it basically.
Yeah, I wrote a memo back in May. Sorry.
Yeah.
Chairman. Yeah, I wrote a memo back in May. I believe I emailed it to the board members about a week and a half or so ago. It should also be in the file. We went out there to take a look at the property and kind of see the extent of the work going on. I spoke to the contractor on site. They are, he said at that point they're about 6 weeks out from requesting the CO. Here's the memo here. The work looked to be largely completed when I was out there. So we really don't have an objection to it being extended for the purposes of getting a CO within the next year.
Okay, yeah, all right. March 1st, 2017 was the original. Yeah, I did drive past it, and actually I didn't notice if there was a permit posted or not on it, but it looked like they were well.
I think they last time I was out there, they were kind of finishing up some of the stuff. So we just have to, I believe it would just be an inspection for the re-veg, and then we'd kind of be all set on our end. But everything at that time looked like it was in line with the board's original determination.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, I have no problem approving the extension of time.
Okay, thank you. Would you like to make a motion?
Make a motion in the matter of Paul Fuller, 45 Industrial Road, Montauk, tax map 300-27-3-4, to approve the extension of time to obtain the certificate of occupancy.
Second.
Concur.
Concur.
And I concur. Okay, thank you, Terry. Thank you, Michael. Okay, moving along, we have the minutes for both May 12th and May 26th. I have read these and they seemed in order. Would someone like to make a motion for their approval?
Yeah, I would make a motion. Remind me of the two dates, John, because I did review them.
May 12th and May 26th, 2020.
May 12th and May 26th. So I make a motion to approve the minutes for the Zoning Board of Appeals for the meetings from May 12th and May 26th.
Second.
Concur.
John?
Concur.
Okay, and I concur as well. Thank you, Tim. Okay, resolutions, I believe we have 3 extensions of time that we already approved, correct, council?
I have not seen these. I don't know if Brittany prepared those and got those out to you or not, but I don't do the extensions of time. So I don't know if those have been prepared for your review.
Oh, let's see. Brittany, remind me. I thought I went in the minutes. Brittany, remind us. I thought we had approved these. Can you remind us, Brittany?
You did. These were,
We received them on 6/12.
On the 12th of, I'm sorry, on June 12th. Right.
and these were extensions of time that you had discussed and approved in previous meetings. I think
Right.
it was either for May 12th or May 26th.
Thank you. So that's what I thought. Thank you, Brittany. So you've prepared them now, as is our protocol. So
Yes.
now they're.
And Nancy
they'll be
Lynn, I will
available to
forward those to
sign.
you as well.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'll forward those to Nancy Lynn if she was not properly CC'd on them.
Okay.
Those require board members signing them.
Yeah.
So as opposed to our determinations. So perhaps those could be at Brittany's desk or somehow we need to get those signed. Those actually need your signatures on them. So whether they can be put in someone's box and moved along until they're all completely executed, but we need to find a way to get that done.
Maybe Brittany, why don't you, maybe you leave them on a folder that's very clearly marked or something for us on your desk, Brittany?
Yep, well, I can do that.
Great. And that way people, if they feel more comfortable coming in, we all have keys to the building, I believe, coming in after hours, if they feel more comfortable that way too, to sign those.
If you want, they could be left in my counsel's box in a folder that is labeled extension of time, and then all the board members can just look in counsel's mailbox, and then you don't have to go looking through the desks.
Yeah, that's great.
Find it there.
Absolutely.
Let's do
Where is that? That's in where Brittany, in Brittany's office? Your
Yes, my
counsel's
office.
mailbox?
300, yes, it's right next to your mailbox.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Nancy. That makes a lot more sense. Good idea. Brittany, if you would put those in tomorrow, thank you. That would be great.
Yes, I will.
Thank you. Thank you, Brittany. Okay. Council, if you have anything else, otherwise I think we're at the end of the agenda. Council?
I have nothing else. You just might want to remind people we are doing another public hearing next week. We have 2 public hearings on for next week, and the documents have been posted and are available on the town website for any of the public who are interested in it, in commenting or calling in. And we have other agenda items as well, but it's the public hearings we like to make sure everybody knows about. So those are on for our meeting next week.
Thank you, Nancy Lynn. And I'll just make a point for the public, for all of our fans that are listening. We typically, Brittany is posting on the Tuesday before the meeting. She's posting the draft agenda wherever we have. Typically, we would have the public hearings already on the Tuesday in 1 week previous to the meetings. And then on the Friday previous to the meeting, Brittany by noon on a Friday would have the final agenda posted, because sometimes the planners are working on extensions or modifications, and we tend to tag things on to keep ourselves busy here. So that is going to be the protocol moving forward. And otherwise, I thank you all. And would someone like to make, my vice chair, would you like to make a motion, Roy, please?
Sure, Mr. Chairman. And before I do, I just want to say it's nice to see you all again. Hopefully we can resume open hearings again so we can be together. So with that, I want to make a motion to end the hearings and work session of the Town of East Hampton Zoning Board of Appeals for June 16th, 2020 at 8:13 p.m.
Second.
Concur.
And I concur.
I guess I concur.
You guess?
Well, Tim got the second. We were kind of in a tie.
Okay. I thought you were guessing at seeing us again.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
All right. Thank you all.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Great to see you all.
Bye-bye.